Good Tuesday morning, Market Chameleons. Everyone joining us for the first time. Thanks for coming by and checking out the Market Chameleon pre-market show. This man, all the way from snowy Philadelphia, Dimitri Bogomonic. How you doing, D?
Good morning, Will. How are you?
You got a little of the white stuff down there?
Yeah, we are getting like flurries, not so bad actually.
Yeah, we've
So
got seems like three or four, I'm looking out the window right now, 3 or 4 inches on the ground. So it's coming
uh
down up here.
okay, it doesn't feel that bad yet here.
You want to start with the disclaimer?
Yeah, good morning, everyone. And before we get started, keep in mind Will and I and Market Chameleon, we're not a registered investment advisor. We're not a broker dealer. We're not telling you what to do. We're just sharing ideas. If you need advice, call your registered investment advisor or call your broker. That's what they're there for. There's the disclaimer, and I'm going to share my screen to navigate to the Market Chameleon website. If you are joining us for the first time, Will and I, we do these shows in the morning to try to help answer questions you may have about the Market Chameleon tools, the data, or the analytics. If you have a question, type it into the live chat on YouTube. Will's watching it, and he will read it back to me. And what we'll do is take a couple minutes to give you a chance to type in the questions. And we'll look at the pre-market report, see if we could get insights, what's going on in the pre-market hours. Then we will move on to the questions. And before we do that, I want to remind you guys that we are doing a webinar today on the with Interactive Brokers at 2 p.m. Eastern. Interactive Brokers is hosting the webinar, so you do have to register for that webinar. It's not going to be live on YouTube like we do the morning shows. If you register with them, you could go watch it live, ask questions, and if you miss it, I think that they'll give you a link to the recording. And on this webinar, I think it'll be actually pretty interesting because we did push out a new feature last night. So today will be the first day we're going to be using that feature, and I'm going to cover that feature within the webinar, within the context. So the webinar is going to be talking about how to connect financial data to get more meaningful insights, why it's important, where a lot of the financial data is dispersed, and how do we connect it to get insights and more clarity of what's going on, more explanation. And one of the new features that we did push out, we pushed out several last night. But one of them is analyzing the multi-leg trades. We had it like last month, it wasn't quite ready. We're still working on it, but I think we took out most of the bugs that was preventing us from pushing it out. So today it is available, to the users, and we will discuss it in that webinar, and then in the upcoming days I'm going to talk about it in a pre-market show as well, so you guys get used to seeing how to use that feature. And keep in mind, we are still working on it to enhance it, but this is the first version. I might just show to you guys today, just like a small preview as well during the show, unless we have like questions. Okay.
All right, perfect.
So let's do the pre-market report. And these are stocks that are trading in pre-market hours. Up top, we have this calendar view, which goes back in time. If you click on it, you could go and see what happened in pre-market hours on the historical date. We show from a top level what happened in the last week. This way we could compare the numbers and see if anything unusual is happening in a certain day, or there's any kind of like trend. Today we're on February 13th. Over here we see 281 stocks are trading higher in the pre-market, and 777 stocks are trading lower. As far as volume goes, we have 159 million shares trading on up volume, 129 million shares trading on down volume. If we convert that volume to dollar value, we have a $1 billion worth of stock trading higher, $7.9 billion worth of stock trading lower. So from that perspective, looks like the trading in a pre-market so far has a bearish lean. And I'm just eyeballing it, in the last week, and that just $7.9 billion worth of stock, is the highest, we've seen in the last week, and we're still have a half hour or so to go in a pre-market. And of course, I think there's news today with the CPI. Is that correct, Will? That came in at a higher than anticipated.
Yeah, actually, Rob mentioned it to the community. He said the CPI came in hotter than expected at 3.9% above the prediction of 3.7.
Yeah.
The futures immediately sold off. It's down between, I don't know, 550 and 300 or so, he said.
Yeah. And I think that, in the last 2 months, we've almost seen a one-way trade of the market starting to anticipate rate cuts in the future. Okay, we're done with this. Rates are going back down, and that's still uncertain, right? We still have a lot of it, and even if inflation hits the target, the question is, if we're at a 2% inflation and at full employment, and the economy is doing well, are we at the new neutral rate? Is this the neutral rate? Does it have to come down? I think that still remains a question. What is the neutral rate? And I don't think the Fed knows themselves, right? This is, as we move on, they just are monitoring the data and trying to react. But let's come down and look at the pre-market trading from a couple more perspectives. If I scroll down here, now we see a list of stock symbols trading in the pre-market hours. We have the symbol, the price change from the previous day's close, volume, alert, and we have it broken down into the most active stocks, biggest percentage gainers, and biggest percentage decliners. Here we see 57 stocks made our biggest percentage gainers list, and 290 on our biggest percentage decliners list. So that also points to a bearish bias, bearish lean in the pre-market trading. Now, to make this list, we do set thresholds, because stocks in the pre-market could trade very low volume, very liquid. So we have thresholds to make this list that we set for liquidity, volume, price changes. And, any stock that trades in a pre-market hour and meets those thresholds could make it onto this list. So we could have an ETF, a leverage products, an inverse ETF, closed-end fund preferred, and a low cap stock. We see low cap stocks in here. So to narrow this list down further to a smaller group of stocks, we could start using filters. And if you have a watch list, you see this filter up top, and you save a group of symbols that you monitor, you can use that filter to drop down, select the watch list that you created, and then the list below will get filtered by the stocks in your watch list. We're going to use this filter here in ETF, for example. So I'm going to click on that, and now we see a drop-down menu with different ETFs to select from. The top one, SPY, that's the S&P 500 ETF. So let's click on that. And the list below, as you can see, now got filtered by stocks that are holdings in SPY, which are the S&P 500 constituents. And 5 stocks made it onto our biggest percentage gainers list. And these little E's are letting us know that there's an earnings announcement, and 76 stocks made it onto our biggest percentage decliners list. And that also points to a bearish bias in the pre-market trading. All right. So so far, that's what it looks like, that reaction to the CPI is causing the markets to sell off. All right, then let me see. Well, we did give it a couple minutes. If you have a question, I'll take it. If not, I'm going to just briefly kind of explain some of the new features we pushed out.
Yeah, nothing's popped up yet.
Okay. So well, let me go to Apple here. One of the things we started to do was when we go to the options chain. All right, so this isn't the feature we're going to be talking about today in the webinar, but if you go to the options chain and you set up a strategy, right? Let's say here on Apple, let's say I set up a call spread, the 180, 185 call spread. So I bought the 180 call, 790, sold the 185 put, 385. You see I clicked on the offer on the 180, bid the 185, and here are the legs. The Feb 180 call, 790, selling the Feb 185 call, the market price is 385. I do have the ability then to change the prices or theos if I want to run a different payout diagram. But along with the payout diagram, here's what we did. Calculate. Oh, and we did add this feature to change the price of the stock. So you get a payout diagram based on those market prices up here, right? So buying call for 790, some 385, that's 405 debit. Here's the bid and offer, midpoint, delta, gamma, vega. And one of the things this tool also allows you to do is analyze the the values of these strategies or options, right? We have a distribution theo, IV theo. So for convenience, what we did was list over here, what is the theoretical value of the spread using the distribution, historical return distributions, and what is the theoretical value of the spread using the historical implied volatilities on similar options, right? That meet similar conditions. So this is kind of an easier way than, so you don't have to flip through to see those theos. 388, you guys are used to it, 399. We have them over here. In addition to that, we set the initial defaults settings. But let's say you prefer on the distribution theo 6 years of data. So you could, it's set to 4 years. If you set it to 6 years of data, if you don't want the dynamic model, you want all results, you could set that, right? And then you click here, save as default settings. From now on, that's what's going to be, so that will be your initial theoretical values, and that's what's going to be saved here each time. So you don't have to, because some people always change it to 6 years, for example, or always to 2 years. So just save that. That's going to pop up every time. In addition to that, that's what the values will pop up in here. So the idea there is just that you don't have to keep resetting. If you prefer certain settings where I always want to see 6 years of data, or I want to see 2 years of data, I want to see all results, I want to see dynamic results, you could set that and it'll default to those settings each time. In addition to it, you're going to see it right here as you're evaluating. So at least you don't have to like click through back and forth. You kind of see your initial baseline. So here 398 is the midpoint, and we could see that kind of falls within our within the theoretical values that we generate. Okay. So that's one of the upgrades here. Now, some of you may want to change the values. Let's say, but I want to see if this was $8 and this was, I don't know, $4. Okay. I'm going to change the prices, and the stock price was at 186. You can change that, calculate it, and then what will happen is everything, right? Everything, your Theos, your payout diagram, this all changes. So now you could reevaluate it based on changing those assumptions. All right. So before you didn't have as much flexibility to change all those assumptions. Now you can do it. And not only the payout diagram will change based on those assumptions, the theoretical values will read those assumptions and say, okay, I'm gonna rerun all those analytics based on what you just entered. Okay. So that's one of the changes there. And you'll see it's going to tie into a different feature that we added on, which will make it easier also to evaluate certain trades that we're going to be witnessing in the market and saying, well, if we want to analyze a particular trade that happened at this time, at this price, with the stock here and so forth, you're going to press a button and you'll be able to analyze it that way. So it's going to make things much easier. You'll see as we go along. Now, there are a couple other minor changes we made that I'm not going to go over. It has to do, with expanding filters. So there's stuff in there that we did update. Usually it's because we get some feature requests. I'm not going to do that, but the big one is going to be these multi-leg trades. And this is what we're going to be going over later today as part of our webinar. Oops, wait, did I click? Yes. Okay, so it takes a little bit while to load again. This is a brand new feature. Still might be not fully optimized or fully bug proof, because when we push it out, that's when we kind of start getting feedback and more bugs. But the idea behind this feature here is that it's looking at the options trades. Here's an Apple out of 550,000, right? What we see is 95,000 of those 550 were entered in as multi-leg trades. It was part of a strategy. Okay. And what we did was take those out and run them through our algorithm and software and said, okay, run them through, connect all the data and tell me, what type of strategy was this? So we detected 54 strategies here. If I click on it here, you could filter it out. So this is by volume. So sometimes the strategy itself, it's not fully obvious because it could, with the amount of legs, it could be two popular strategies. So we'll list both of them. So the first one, 29,132 in volume. Based on our interpretation, this was either a jelly roll or a calendar double straddle. All right. Next one, there's 18,000 contracts for call spreads. There are 232 different unique call spreads in there, put spreads and so forth. So you could see here, all these different strategies that we're able to pluck out that traded yesterday. We're not open today for you guys to analyze. All right. So let's just say call spread. You click on that, and now you see all the call spreads. We could scroll down that traded in Apple. So the top one here, you could see here, this call spread, we identified the legs are March 24th, 200, 210 call spread. So here you have 39 days. I got to line this up. So you see first day, there's bugs. So days to expiration, 39, $10, the strikes are apart. The VWAP price it traded at was 78 cents, with the VWAP 75 cents to 78 cents bid ask, with the price of 187.73. So you could see here, we're going to go over this. When you click on the details to open, you get more details. So you could see here the spread, traded multiple times over here on Orica C2. This is the amount of times it traded, and then you could dig deeper into the details. Again, we're going to be going over this at 2 o'clock today, so I don't want to do too much right now, because we're going to spend more time on it. However, you guys could start using it, kind of experimenting with it later today, and then we're going to go over this, and we're still working on it. So this will even be, this feature will be more enhanced. I know this because there are parts of this that are still not available to you guys that are to me. But you have the initial tool here. And the idea there is also, we'll be able to, because of those enhancements that I just showed you from the payout diagram, theoretical values, we'll be able to analyze these trades even deeper, to see the original trade, the risk payout, the theoretical values at the time of the trade, the payout diagram, and so forth. So we're going to be explaining away those multi-leg trades and what's happening, right? So let me do, so it's probably a little bit slow, but let's say, in SPY, again, this is a new feature, so we still have some performance enhancements in there, but I'm just going to show it to you while, we're going through this in the morning, kind of to prepare you guys who are going to join us at 2 o'clock, what we're going to be talking about. Okay, so bear with me here, because SPY has a lot of options, and this tool is still not fully optimized. So I think this will take like a couple. We'll see how it is. But even, oops, okay. So I think because I'm sharing my screen makes it slower as well.
No worries, Dave. I just let anyone know who's playing around or using this new tool today. If you see anything that looks unusual, please take a screenshot and email support@MarketChameleon.com with because any new features, there will certainly be bugs.
So
everyone uses the tools differently. It's not all one use case scenario. So if you see anything, let us know.
Slide off this because, okay, there it goes. Okay, so it did pop up. I was about to go. So here, so you could see here that, look, it's again, first day out, right? First day out, guys. And I know some people understand it. Some people will still get on my, on my back, which is fine. I understand. Like you guys want to use it and have it, fast and robust. And that's our goal. I'm just letting you know that I pushed it out a little bit earlier without fully optimizing it, so you guys could start using it. Some of you will have the patience and understand. Some people, I know I'm already going to get emails with complaints, but at least you'll have access to it. Now, in SPY, now we see yesterday, right? Today we're not open yet, so we're looking at yesterday's data. The biggest option trade was a put butterfly, 600,000 contracts in total traded 14 separate times yesterday. It was a 390, 410, 430 put butterfly, April 19th, 67 days to expiration. The strikes are $20 apart, traded for 13 cents. And these are the things we're going to start looking at on a daily basis, analyzing, because we have this is a good way to learn. right? This is a good way to learn. Like, what are people doing out there? What are the strategies? We have we have detected 68 different strategies yesterday. 68 different strategies. What better way to learn than just analyzing the markets, looking what are they doing, how did this play out, what they might be thinking, is it because the theoretical values look good? Is it because that they're looking at a directional play? Is it like something that we usually see as a hedge? These are good ways to start learning. And so that, and you can see here, look at all these different strategies. These are these are things that traded, right? These aren't like strategy, these aren't like screeners where these are actual trades, right? We're taking those from the time in sales. These occurred yesterday. Okay. These are the things that traded, that is going through our software, identifying the trade, consolidating that, and now you guys have it available. So I can tell you that there's probably no tool like this right now out there, because this is a proprietary tool, right? So if you guys see one like that, I'd like to see, because I searched for it for a long time. And I'm hoping, you guys get a lot of benefit from it. And again, we will be talking about it more and more, so you guys get used to how to use this tool, how to get insights from this tool. And I'm right up at 9:30. Well, I think I'm going to just stop there.
Awesome job, D. Everyone's excited about this new tool and the growth of it. And we will see you today at 2 p.m. The link has been put into the chat. You must register again with IBKR. This is a webinar run by them. So even if you can't go, register and they'll let you know when you can view the webinar. Basically, it sits on their library with probably 30 plus webinars we've done with them previously. So great job, Dima.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Stay safe out there. Have a great trading day. Hope to see you guys later today. If not, maybe tomorrow. Again, stay safe.
Yeah, we did have some questions pop in about Christmas cheese and jelly rolls, so maybe you can hit one of those tomorrow.
Yeah, well, we'll be analyzing those too. So look, first day, I'm sure right now I'm in the background looking at these bugs and errors and trying to, our developers are trying to fix those first, just to make the user experience better, because it's going to be buggy, right? It's definitely going to be buggy, because this is a pretty powerful tool it's doing a lot, and it's our first day out, beyond like our test environment, and right now, yeah, we're more concerned like having it stable, and then we're going to be talking about all this stuff. So for sure, I'm sure we're going to have lots of questions, and we'll be covering them.
All right.
Okay.
If you're on the East Coast, enjoy the snow today. Don't shovel too hard. All right, Dima, we'll see you too, buddy.
All right.